ob du glaubst, dass ich fleißig gewesen bin, dass ich gearbeitet habe, dass ich mich in diesen Jahren für dich eingesetzt habe, dass ich anständig meine Zeit verwendet habe im Dienste meines Volkes. Gib du jetzt deine Stimme ab, wenn ja...
Assalamualaikum, my name is AMIRUL bin ADNAN and I will briefly explain the introduction of Neorealism. Neorealism is a formal theory in international relations, emerged in the late 20th century as a response to classical realism. Unlike its predecessor, Neorealism focused on the structure of the international system rather than human nature to explain state behavior. It was said that the anarchist structure of the international system compels state to prioritize power and security. The theory was primarily developed by Keenan and Walsh, but other key contributors such as John Messemer and Robert Jarvis enriched its concept and application. The key concepts of neorealism include, firstly, anarchy, the absence of a central authority in the international system, leaving state to operate in self-help. Next is balance of power, the natural tendency of state to form alliance to prevent any one state from dominating. And lastly is security dilemma, the paradox where action taken by one state to enhance its security often threaten others, potentially escalating conflicts. Neorealism provides a powerful framework for understanding and predicting state behavior based on power dynamic in an anarchy world.
Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is NURHAZIRAH HUSNA binti Muhammad HANIZAM and I will present the main principle of Neorealism, a significant theory in international relations. Neorealism focuses on the structure of the international system and how it shapes the behavior of states. To make it more relatable, I will explain its four main principles. Let's take a look. The first main principle is anarchy system. In international relations, anarchy does not mean chaos. It simply means there is no global authority to enforce law or provide security. Without a central governing body, countries must act independently and rely on themselves to protect their interests and maintain stability. Secondly, states as sovereign units. Neorealism sees countries as the most important actors in the global system. They are independent and make decisions based on their goals and needs. This means governments operate on their own without interference from any higher authority. State sovereignty is a key idea in this principle. Thirdly, distribution of power. A country's power is determined by factors like its natural resources, population, economy, military strength, and technology. The way power is distributed among countries affects global stability and creates a ranking of nations. Powerful states have more influence, while weaker ones have less. Finally, national interest. National interest is what drives a country's action. Every country focuses on protecting its economy, security, and territory. These priorities shape how countries act in the international system, helping them survive and strengthen their position in the world. So, Neorealism explains how countries behave in a system without global governance, its four main principles: anarchy system, state sovereignty, distribution of power, and national interests help us understand the dynamics of international relations. That's all from me. Let's go to the next section.
Neorealism, or structural realism, has been one of the most influential theories in international relations. Its strengths lie in its ability to provide a systematic, objective framework for understanding how states interact in an anarchic world. So let's explore what makes neorealism so powerful.
First, neorealism emphasizes the structure of the international system rather than the individual characteristics of states or leaders. This focus allows us to identify patterns in global politics, such as the rise and fall of the great powers, without being distracted by domestic politics or personal ideologies. For instance, during the Cold War, the bipolar structure between the United States and the Soviet Union dictated much of the global dynamics, regardless of who led these nations.
Neorealism simplifies the complex world of international relations by focusing on key variables that I've mentioned in the introduction, which is the anarchy, distribution of power, and the pursuit of security. This makes it a valuable tool for predicting state behavior.
For example, when one state becomes too powerful, others are likely to form alliances to balance against it. This explains NATO's formation in response to the Soviet Union and, more recently, concerns about China's rise. Another strength of neorealism is its universal applicability. Whether analyzing historical events like the Cold War or modern conflicts in the South China Sea, neorealism provides a consistent framework for understanding how power shapes international relations. Finally, neorealism's focus on security and survival reflects the harsh realities of international politics. In an anarchic world, states cannot rely on others for protection, so they act in ways that ensure their survival. This logic explains why arms races, like the nuclear buildup during the Cold War, occur, even when states prefer peace. Survival is always the priority in an uncertain world.
С праздником вас! С Днем Великой Победы! Ура!
In summary, neorealism's strength lies in its focus on the structure of the international system, its ability to simplify and predict state behavior, its universal applicability, and its emphasis on security and survival. These qualities make it a powerful tool for analyzing the complexities of global politics.
Assalamualaikum everyone. My name is Muhammad Amir TARIQ bin Haji Muhammad TAHIR. Today, I'm going to talk about the weaknesses of the neorealisms, which is a popular theory in international relations. Neorealism focuses on how countries act to gain a power and protect themselves. But it has many flaws when we look at the modern world. Let's go to the 4 weaknesses. Number 1. Simplistic view of state behavior. Neorealism assumes that all countries act the same ways, focusing on only power and security, but in the real life, decisions made by government are much more complicated. Things like a public opinion, the country economy, and the leaders' personal belief play a big role in the shaping policy. For example, a democratic country may make a decision differently from an authoritarian one because of their value and system. Neorealism ignores this difference, which is the big problem. The secondly is insufficient relevant to a modern issue. This weakness is that neorealism is not helpful for the solving to the global problems. The big issues like the climate change, pandemics, and terrorism need a country to work together. But the neorealism focusing on competitions, where the country only care about their own power and security. This makes it hard to use the theory to solve problems that require the teamwork. Also, neorealism was created during the Cold War, when there were only 2 superpowers, the US and Soviet Union. The thirdly is underestimate international institutions. Neorealism does not think the organization like the UN, United Nations, or WTO, World Trade Organization are very important. But it's in reality, this organization help the country work together, solve problems, and maintain the peace. For example, the UN have the conflict resolutions and the WTO the set rules of the global trade. By ignoring the importance of these institutions, neorealism misses how they make the world more stable. Finally, is a neorealism can cause a war. Neorealism focus on power can make things more dangerous, also create a security dilemma. When one country build up its military to feel safe, other countries may feel threatened and do the same things. This also creates a cycle of fears where the tension rises and sometimes it leads to war. For example, World War I happened partly because a country kept building up their armies. And the Cold War had an arms race between US and Soviet Union, which created a decade of mistrust. In conclusions, neorealism is an important theory, but it has many weaknesses. It oversimplifies how the country makes decisions, ignores other powerful groups, does not address global problems, underestimate international organization, and can even lead to war. To understand to the world, we need a better idea that focus on cooperation, not just a competition.
Assalamualaikum, I'm FADZIL bin AMINUDIN. In the chaotic world of international relations, states are like players in a high-stakes game. Neorealism explains how their behavior, foreign policies, and global dynamics are shaped by one fundamental truth: the absence of a central authority. So here are the 4 impacts of the Neorealism theory.
States act to ensure their survival. In an anarchic system, self-help is key. For example, countries invest in defense and build alliances to deter potential threats, as seen in NATO's expansion to counter perceived Russian aggression. That is for the impacts under state behavior. The next impact is foreign policy. Neorealism also shapes foreign policy. During the Cold War, the US adopted a containment strategy to limit Soviet power, forming alliances and intervening globally. Such policies reflect the pursuit of power balance rather than idealistic goals. On a global scale, neorealism explains shifting power dynamics. As China's influence grows, the US and its allies respond with countermeasures, reflecting the ongoing quest for dominance in a multipolar world. The last impact is critique of idealism. Neorealism critiques idealism, argue that states act in self-interest, not moral ideals. Institutions like the UN often lack the power to enforce peace, as national survival takes precedence over global cooperation.
So, neorealism offers a powerful lens to understand state behavior and global politics. While criticized for its cynicism, its insight remain vital in analyzing our world.
In conclusion, neorealism remains a foundational theory in international relations, emphasizing power, security, and the anarchic structure of the global system. Its strength lies in analyzing state behavior and great power politics, particularly during the Cold War. However, its limitations such as ignoring non-state factors, internal politics, and modern global challenges highlight the need for adaptation. While it offers valuable insight into power dynamics, neorealism must evolve to address the complexity of today's interconnected and multipolar world, ensuring it's relevant for future analysis. So that's all from our group. Thank you.
Why do nations compete in times of peace? The answer lies at the heart of the neorealism and the realist perspective on global politics. Because in a world without guarantees, competition is survival. And in that pursuit lies the enduring story of humanity's struggle to coexist in an uncertain world.